And let's start with meditation right away. So you can sit in a comfortable meditation posture. Make sure your back is erect, side cast down. We'll take 10 minutes. And in our minds, voicelessly, let's make the first determination. Make sure your back is erect, side cast down. We'll try to stay without any movement at all. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. From now on, for 10 minutes, I will meditate on muscles and radiate loving kindness without any movement. And with that determination, we can gently, lovingly notice the flat piece of flesh at the top of the head. Let's allow it to be heavy and changing. And see if you can also notice the bone below the muscle. The muscle or the flesh follows the shape of the bone. So you can consider not just the muscle or flesh, but also the bone on which it is stuck. And let's continue in this way to the forehead, eyes, nose, lips, chin, cheeks, ears, back of the head, and we allow all of the muscles and flesh throughout the head to be heavy and changing. We continue to the neck, shoulders, arms, elbows, forearms, wrists, palms, fingers, tips of fingers, chest, abdomen, back, and we allow all of the muscles and flesh throughout the upper part of the body to be heavy and changing. We continue to the buttocks, thighs, knees, calves, heels, soles, toes, tips of toes, we allow all of the muscles and flesh throughout the body to be heavy and changing. Make sure your back is erect. You may try to lean a little bit back to check if you can lean more. Yes, that's a little better indeed. And now let's enjoy this peace we gain as we give freedom to the body. The more you can give freedom to the body and the mind, without attachment, without expectations, the more freedom you will receive from worry. As you are free from worry, you may experience peace. So let's observe this peace and explore it. Try to remember it. Now let's share our peace with other living beings. We start in our room. We don't force, we don't expect. We just allow them to enjoy at least as much peace as we are enjoying ourselves. So in our minds, voicelessly, we can wish, may all beings in this room be in peace. May all beings in this room be in peace. May all beings in this room be in peace. We can gradually expand our thoughts of loving kindness. May all beings in this building be in peace. May all beings in this city or village be in peace. May all beings in this country be in peace. May all beings on this continent be in peace. May all beings on this planet be in peace. May all beings, including me, be in peace. Now, because the time for this sitting is finished, let's make the last determination in our minds voicelessly. From now on, I will always be mindful and shine with loving kindness. From now on, I will always be mindful and shine with loving kindness. From now on, I will always be mindful and shine with loving kindness. And with that determination, we can slowly, mindfully change the way of our sitting. So let's move on to our chanting 3 refuges and 5 precepts. So you can unmute yourself, please. So you can keep your hands together to show that you're serious about the 3 refuges and 5 precepts. And let's start together right away. Yamahang vadami tang vadeta. So now you can repeat after me. Aham bhante tisaranena saha panchasilang dhammang yajami. Anuggahang katva silang deta me bhante anukampang upadaya. Dutiyampi aham bhante tisaranena saha panchasilang dhammang yajami. Anuggahang katva Silang deta me bhante Anukampang upadaya Tatiyampi aham bhante Tisaranena saha Panchasilang dhammang yajami Anuggahang katva Silang deta me bhante Anukampang upadaya Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa Namo tassa bhagavato arahato samma sambuddhassa So now you have paid respect to the Buddha, and we can move on to the three refuges. Make sure that you repeat after me with S exactly as same pronunciation as as is coming from me. Buddhang saranang gacchami Dhammang saranang gacchami Sanghang saranang gacchami Dutiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami Dutiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami Dutiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami Tatiyampi buddhang saranang gacchami Tatiyampi dhammang saranang gacchami Tatiyampi sanghang saranang gacchami Sarana-gamanang paripunnang Panatipata Veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Adinnadana Veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Kame sumicchācara Veramani sikkhapadang samadhiyami Musavada, Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. Surameraya, Majjapamadatthana, Veramani Sikkhapadang Samadhiyami. So now I will encourage you all to follow these 5 precepts, protect the 3 refuges, and strive mindfully. So your striving means you strive to follow the 5 precepts. And how do you do that? By being mindful. And then if you agree with that, you can reply Ama Bhante. So let's try that together. Tisaranena saddhing pancha silang dhammang sadhukang surakkitang katva appamadena sampadeta. May you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you soon attain the eternal bliss of Nibbana. And when I say that, if you agree with that, you can reply sadhu, 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 which means well said. So let's try that again. May you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you soon attain the eternal bliss of Nibbana. Yes. Sadhu means well said. Did I ever tell you the story of the young gentleman who had a blue lotus fragrant smell just because he once said sadhu after he listened to the Buddha's teachings? Did you ever hear that story? Nobody heard that story? So there's a story about a monk in our scriptures. It's in our scriptures. So there was a monk. He was a husband. He had a wife, and then he decided to become a monk. So he became a monk, and his wife became one of the assistants or concubines of the king. And one day the king was distributing flowers to his concubines, to his wives, or whatever you call it. And when she received the flowers, the blue lotuses, she was smiling. She was smiling very much. And the king asked her, "Why are you smiling so much?" And she said, "Well, these blue lotuses, they have exactly the fragrance that I know from the mouth of my previous husband." And then she started to cry. And the king asked, and then I don't know why was she crying, so I'll have to find the story. Oh, that's so funny. Where do I have it? Oh, here it is. So I keep very carefully in my notes of the things that I find out, not just about Dhamma, but also from school. Now I'm a student, do you know that? I follow Liberty University. I learn clinical mental health counseling master's degree program. We are now about 4 weeks into the course, and it is so difficult. So let's see how far I can get that. And so I still use Evernote. I still use this software for making notes, even for the university, and it has been extremely helpful. So I would like to encourage you all to download Evernote. It's for free, and see if you find it useful for your studies. Okay, so we have the story of saying sadhu, stories of those who had fear of shrinking back from wrongdoing, and then I see, so that's a heading, the story of a great master, Mahathera, whose mouth smelled by brown lotus, but actually brown lotus is blue lotus. In the Buddha's time, brown and blue were not recognized as different colors. It seems that people gradually change their ability to recognize different colors based on the environment where they live. Thanks to this, thanks to his refraining from telling lies, and also for saying sadhu. So we will find that out. A married man heard the Buddha's teachings and became a monk. His former wife then became a personal attendant to the king Pasenadi Kosala. We need to read this long, se, and this one long, ko, because they're followed only by one consonant. If they were followed by two consonants, we'll read it short. But it's followed by one, and therefore it is Pasenadi Kosala. At one point, the king was giving flower bouquet to his attendants, concubines, and when this lady received 2 bouquets, she remembered her former husband, now a monk, and started to laugh and cry. She then explained to the king that she was happy for getting a bouquet, but cried because she missed the brown lotus smell from her husband's mouth. The king could not believe her. He could not believe that her husband has that kind of smell. So he invited the Buddha with monks for meal and learned which monk was her former husband. Then the king asked the Buddha, now this means, or this is just my note, this is what I wrote as a summary of the story. And the monk, the wife of the previous wife of the monk pointed out the husband, her former husband, to the king. That's how he learned about it. And then the king asked the Buddha and monks to return home, keeping the one monk stay and recite rejoicing of the meal donation. Not just rejoicing, but especially thanking. So noted in the brackets, thanking. That's what the monks usually do. If you invite a monk to your home for a meal, then the monk after that meal will usually recite something for you. Either he will discuss with you Dhamma teachings, or he will answer your questions about Dhamma, but most importantly, the monk will probably recite for you some kinds of thanks. And those thanks are especially recited in form of sharing merit. So you share the merit, and the monk is also sharing merit, and during the ritual of sharing merit, he explains to you how your merit was powerful and good. So the king then smelled perfume from the monk's mouth and went to the Buddha to ask about it. The Buddha then explained that this monk in a previous life or previous time listened to the true Dhamma, Saddhamma, and said sadhu in praise of that teachings. As a result of that calling in praise, the smell from his mouth is like the smell of a brown lotus that appeared in the water. So those are my translations from Burmese and from the Pali language. There's some kind of note from commentary to the Anguttara Nikaya book. The Sayadaw then explains, oh, I see, this is actually the quote that proves the story that I wrote here. Sometimes when I'm writing a paper or something for strict people, or I want to make it clear that what I say is according to the scriptures, I like to add a Pali quote so that everyone knows that I'm strictly following the scriptures. The Sayadaw then explains that the fragrant smell from the monk's mouth was caused by speaking truth in his past lives, and also praising the Dhamma by calling sadhu sadhu at the end. Although the Buddha in this story doesn't mention anything about not telling lies, the Sayadaw still refers to another text where this is mentioned. So, in other words, there's this funny thing that a monk read this story. He says that the monk in the story had a nice smell because of telling truth and saying sadhu, but the scriptures only speak about saying sadhu. And we will see these kinds of inaccuracies probably in every monk, and you will see them in me also if you sometimes examine, as we gradually improve the accuracy of our teachings. Alright, so that's for saying sadhu, and now I see that we are very well in time. I'm very happy that we are now doing things very effectively, so we still have plenty of time to do a lot of interesting activities. I'm not sure whether I told you the last time or whether I wrote it in Viber. I think I asked you to tell me why do you meditate and why do you come to this class and listen about the Buddha's teachings. So did I ask you about that? Yaza, do you remember any such request?
I do not.
You don't? And but last time actually I met with Pyo and Timo only, right? Pyo, do you remember that we would be talking about anything like that?
No, you didn't say anything about that.
Not at all? Okay, no problem. So we can do it today. So I'm curious because I want to know, why do you meditate and why do you follow or listen to the Buddha's teachings? This is very important for you to understand. If you know it, then you can clarify your identity, your Buddhist identity. So what is this thing, being a Buddhist? Does it mean that you worship cows? Or does it mean that you light candles in front of the Buddha? What is this thing, being a Buddha? Being a Buddhist. And if someone asks you, then you need to have your answer. You need to be ready for that kind of question, and not like, oh, I don't know, I'm just like thinking about that sometimes. Or sometimes I meditate, and then they ask you, so why do you meditate? And you, well, maybe it's helpful, I'm not sure. A monk told me to meditate, so I'm doing that. Well, then that, of course, will not be very inspiring. The idea is that when you are a Buddhist and people find out, either because you say it or someone tells it about you, you are able to defend it. You will probably need to defend it because you live in a Christian culture, in a Christian community, and there will probably be people who will try to dissuade you from Buddhism and persuade you for Christianity. And it's good for you to know what do you want. I don't ask you to be a Buddhist. I don't ask you not to be Christians. Indeed, I do not have any difficulty with that. Whether you are Christians or Buddhists, I am always happy to share with you the Buddha's teachings and support you in any way I can. But if you are Buddhists, I would wish that as Buddhists, you know why are you Buddhists. So that when people meet you and they hear that you are Buddhists and they ask you why are you Buddhists, you can give them a kind of answer that will totally shock them. Such an answer that they will think, this person is not a Christian, but they have some wisdom. That's the kind of reaction that I want to have in their minds. They don't have to say that. And if you can do that, then this will be very good. Then they will have respect for you and they will be open to the things that you tell them. They will be more trusting They will not be like, oh, he's a Buddhist. Oh, that's some kind of religion. I don't know that religion. They certainly are evil. Maybe they tell lies, or they deceive, or they steal. Who knows what they are about? Maybe they want to convert us all to Buddhism so that we give all of our houses and cars and things to the church. Or maybe it's some sect and they will persuade us to commit suicide. Yeah, maybe they will think that. If you are not able to explain what is Buddhism like, then people will get an idea, and that idea will be wrong. So you need to have the skill. Now you are enough old, so to speak, to have that skill, and now this is my duty to help you develop the skill so that it's practical. All right, so there are various reasons why you can be Buddhist, and all of those reasons are very nice and very good. And you need to know which one of them is your reason, or if you have another reason, then that's even better. So it's good for you to know the classification of those reasons. So there are reasons which are low, and there are reasons which are high or noble. And the more noble reason you have, well, the more happy I will be about you. And of course, the more respectful will be the people when they hear about your noble reason. So one of the reasons why you meditate, why you follow the Buddha's teachings, is because your parents ask you to do that. Well, I think you already can realize that this is one of the lower reasons. That's not a very high reason. It's still fine. I'm perfectly fine about that. I just would like to know it. Then we have some higher reasons. Another reason why you may like to follow the Buddha's teachings is because you want to become rich and famous and successful. That is a very powerful reason, and many people become Buddhists exactly for that reason. And that's perfectly fine. That's one of the reasons that the Buddha encouraged people to follow the Buddha's teachings, to train in generosity, ethics, and meditation. The Buddha even speaks of following the eight rules, in terms of money. The Buddha says, well, I think I never told you about eight rules, right? Does anyone remember me talking about eight rules? If no, you can do like this. So, this is clear to me. No, thank you. So 8 rules are a little bit higher level of ethics. It is based on the 5 rules. There are 4 things that are coming in, 4 big things that are coming in. Although you see that there are just 3 things probably, but actually there are 4 things coming in addition to the 5 rules when you follow the 8. And the Buddha says, well, if he says to the laymen who do not follow 8 rules, he says, well, suppose that if someone gives you 1 kahapana for following 8 rules one day, would you then follow the 8 rules one day? Now, kahapana, you can think of it as $1. Some people translate it as $1. Of course, they had a different currency. It was India. India still has a different currency than the US. They use rupee, R-U-P-E-E. And they use it in Sri Lanka as well, although the value of Sri Lankan rupee is totally different from the Indian rupee. So at those times, however, they didn't use dollars or rupees, they used kahapana. But to simplify it, you can think of it as $1. So suppose the Buddha would say, okay, so if you get a $1 for one day following 8 precepts, would you follow that? And they said, yes, we would. Now suppose if you got $2 and $3, $5, $10, you know, he's gradually increasing it to increase the young men's enthusiasm to follow the 8 precepts for one day. Now suppose that you get $1,000 for one day following 8 precepts. Would you then follow the 8 precepts for one day? I think here probably everyone would. And the Buddha explains that the benefits of following 8 precepts are much, much higher. Now the Buddha continues, now suppose that you would get $1,000 for every day that you follow the 8 precepts. Then at the moment when you die, if you were to collect it, that would be a lot of money, right? And the young men agree, yes, indeed, that would be a lot of money. And the Buddha says, well, then suppose that you would take this money to your next life. And that would be a pretty good start. The Buddha then explains that following his teachings, following the 8 rules, actually brings even more benefit than the $1,000. You may not be able to see it immediately. There's no one who gives you $1,000 for that. But actually you get that benefit. It will bring about its results in the future, but that's the way world works. You need to do your job for 1 month, and then after that 1 month you get salary for that 1 month. You didn't get anything the first day or even the second day, or even after 2 weeks you got nothing. But that all counts. At the end of the month you get all of your money. That's if you do a job in today's world. But in Buddhism it works in a similar way, except that you do not have a contract. So you do your thing and then you get your result. It may be right the next day or right the next hour, but it also may be the next life. So as you can see, the Buddha spoke about following his teachings in terms of riches, happiness, success. So if anyone follows the Buddha's teachings just to be rich, successful, famous, perfect. It's according to the Buddha's teachings. But I think most of you already realized that this is one of the lower reasons. It is praised by the Buddha. It is definitely good. But there are some higher reasons. So maybe you have heard of Rome. Have you heard of ancient Rome? Today it's a capital city of Italy. And in times of ancient Rome, before Christianity came, the people worshipped Roman deities. Have you ever heard of the Roman pantheon? Do you know what's a pantheon? You may like to know this word pantheon. Those who don't know, please check your chat box. Pantheon. This is an important word for you to know in Buddhism, not in Christianity. They have no pantheon, but in Buddhism we do. Especially in Hinduism, in Roman religion, in the Greek religion, they do have their pantheon. Pantheon is the system of gods. Pantheon is the system of gods. So you have some god, and then you have another god, and this god is doing this, that god is doing that. These gods have this value, that value, they can do this for you, that for you. So we have also our pantheon in Buddhism. They have pantheon in Hinduism, and in many other religions as well. Christianity, Islam, Judaism do not have their pantheon because they have just one god. Similarly, Baha'i religion and Sikhism also do not have pantheon because they have just one god. All right, so we have this pantheon, and now so I totally lost my thread. Angela is joining us. So now, yes,
Me, Albert.
it's you, Albert. I see. Okay. So now, when you follow the Buddha's teachings, you may become famous, and there are many other reasons why you may like to follow the Buddha's teachings. And one of them is that you would like to be born in a next life. So in a good life, you would like to be born in heaven or as a human, and this is one of the main reasons why the Buddha taught his teachings, so that people, when they die, they are born in a happy world. It's extremely important for the Buddha, because when you are born in one of the lower realms, like the realm of hell, animals of ghosts, you get stuck there. If you are just born in the realm of hell and then back as a human, maybe that would not be such an issue. The problem is that you get stuck there. Why do you get stuck there? Because in the realm of hell, animals and ghosts, there are many reasons why you would do bad deeds. In the hell, I'm not sure whether you would have this opportunity, but in the animal realm and ghost realm, definitely you do. And with those bad deeds, you create conditions for another bad next life. And then you get that again and again and again and again and again. And this is pretty bad. So the Buddha doesn't wish that we are born in a bad world, and therefore he teaches us the Dhamma so that we are born in a nice world as a human or as a god. Alright, so that's another reason why someone would follow the Buddha's teachings and meditate. Another reason why you would follow the Buddha's teachings is to achieve peace. So you want to achieve peace in this life? Well, that's good. You may even achieve peace for your next life. If you are able to achieve peace through the Buddha's teachings now and in the near future, probably you will also have it in the distant future and in your next life. Next, for the benefits of following the Buddha's teachings, the most important benefit, the most powerful, the noblest benefit is the freedom from suffering. And this is something that I would gradually like to lead you towards. I would like to gradually lead you towards the understanding of what is freedom from suffering, what is freedom from birth, old age, sickness, and death, and understand that this is better than birth, old age, sickness, and death. This is extremely hard to understand. Well, if you do not have seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking, then what remains? Think about that. Not much remains, right? And that's Nibbana. Nibbana is the freedom from seeing, hearing, smelling, tasting, touching, and thinking. And this will be extremely difficult for you because this is based on very special traditional ascetic thinking of India. Understanding the problem of life is extremely hard, especially today when you are safe. You do not have any robbers waiting for you to rob you and kill you on the road every day where you go. You do not have wild elephants and tigers who are waiting in the forest until they get some time to visit your village and destroy your house and kill you. You probably do not worry that a fire will burn your house and you will be without house and maybe even lose your life. You do not have those worries. You do not worry about so-called 96 diseases. We may talk about that later, as counted in our scriptures. So 96 diseases that may come basically any time and just kill you and nobody can help you. You probably do not worry about these things. So it's very hard to understand the problem of life. But again, it's not just about this life. It's also about the next life and the problem of the next life and the problem of the potential to be born in a bad world. You may be born as a god or as a human next life, but what about the other life and the other life? Well, you may have 1,000,000 lives. How do you make sure that during all those 1,000,000 lives you will always be born as a human, as a god? No, you cannot make sure. There are ways, but those ways are done through the Buddha's teachings, and even those ways can save you for 1,000,000 lives to be born as a human, as a god, but on the 1,000,001st life, you may again be born as an animal or in hell and get stuck there for 1,000,000 lives. And that's not what we want. So the Buddha teaches these teachings of enlightenment, getting free from rebirth, and that's the ultimate aim of us, the followers of the Buddha. Nice. So I think I've told you what I wanted to tell you, and now comes the homework with that. I would like to ask you all to write 4 lines, 4 sentences about why do you follow the Buddha's teachings? Why do you meditate? You may have some other reasons. You may have some other reasons, and that's perfectly fine. I want to know them. Please write them down very carefully, and I hope that next week we will read them You will read them for me. I'm really curious about that. I became a monk to get psychic powers because I want to fly in the air, because I want to disappear and appear somewhere else, because I want to read others' thoughts. That's why I became a monk. And then as the second reason, which now has become the first reason, in order to get free from rebirth. Well, I didn't understand the reason why would I get free from rebirth, because I'm healthy, happy, young, strong. So I'm happy about that. So I don't have any reason to get free from this. But I wanted to get psychic powers because psychic powers helped me to get some safety and peace for a long time. But later, as I studied the Buddha's teachings, I realized that psychic powers are impermanent. When I die, I lose them, or maybe next life I still may have them as a human or as a god, but the other life I may not have them anymore, and I may need to start from the scratch again, and then again, and again, and again. And when I hear about that, I'm already bored. I'm already bored with that. So why would I need to do this if I need to then do it again and again and again? I feel like it's not fair. So there is another thing, and that's called enlightenment. And for that, I try one time, I achieve it one time, and I'm done. So for me, I think that's a better deal. So now I've told you why I became a monk, why I am following the Buddha's teachings, and now it's your turn. So I hope to read your notes. I will share with you the link to our new story. I wish so much that you read our new story. It's the continuation of our previous of the first part. I think most of you weren't here to hear about that. We have two parts now for this story. It's a story about about two monks. One is an arahant. The other one is his younger brother. He becomes a monk. He cannot memorize 4 lines of the Buddha's teachings, even after 4 months of memorizing. And so the elder brother kicks him out. And so the younger brother is kicked out of the monastery, but the Buddha meets him on the way, and the Buddha gives him meditation instruction, and the younger brother, who could not memorize 4 lines in 4 months, became fully enlightened with all psychic powers within 1 day. And then the second part of the story is that the monks are invited for meal, and his elder brother says that suggests that his younger brother stays in the monastery, that he's not suitable to get the meal. They have the meal. The Buddha asks, where are all the monks? Are we all complete here? The elder brother says, yes, we are complete. The Buddha says, no, we are not complete. There is one monk in the monastery. And so the assistant of the donor from the house, the Buddha is invited to the house for a meal. So the assistant of the donor goes to the monastery for that one monk. But he sees there 1,000 monks. So what am I going to do? And the Buddha says, well, you choose the so-called Venerable Chulapantaka. So he goes to the monastery and he's like, okay, who's Chulapantaka? I am Chulapantaka. I am also Chulapantaka. I am also Chulapantaka. I am also Chulapantaka. And so the assistant is again confused. He goes back to the home and he says, oh, Buddha, all of them say that they are Chulapantaka. And the Buddha says, okay, so you grab by shoulder the first one you see and you say, okay, you follow with me. So he goes to the monastery, he grabs him by the shoulder, all of the other 999 immediately disappear, and there you go with Venerable Chulapantaka to the house for the meal. So you can read about this. This was the first part, and I will send you the link to the second part. Let me see if I can do that. Okay, and now I'm already awaited somewhere else at a big meeting about religions. I don't know whether you know that. I would like to invite you there. So if you would like, you can continue on for the meeting. I will be speaking there in Czech, and everybody will be speaking there in Czech, but there will be English translation. So you can listen to the English translation. You can try it out. You're most welcome, but it's not compulsory as you like. Thank you everyone for coming. May you be happy, may you be healthy, and may you soon attain the eternal bliss of Nibbana.
Everyone please unmute and say goodbye to Seattle.
Pure needs to unmute. Yes.
Goodbye, Venerable Sir.
Nice. Thank you all very much.